We'll wait till everybody gets their seats and then we'll call the meeting to order. I think we're good. Could I ask Marty Bastian to lead us with invocation, please?
Well, let us pray. Almighty and ever-gracious God, we do give you thanks and praise for the glory of this day. We thank you, Lord, that it's your day, a holy day, a sacred day, a Sabbath day, a day that you invite each of us into your midst. And Father, as we gather in this place today, I simply bid that you would be with us. Father, I give you thanks for this parish family. And I thank you especially for her leaders. And Father, I pray that you would continue to empower them and to inspire them to do the work that you're calling them to do. So Father, be with us this day of our annual meeting. Make yourself known to us and bless us, I pray. In the name of one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Marty. All right, the first order of business, I'd like to designate Diane Campbell to serve as secretary for the parish meeting. And I'd like to ask for a motion to approve and dispense with reading the previous year's minutes. Thank you. The minutes, sorry? You're right, we're good. For your information, the minutes from the prior year are available in the rector's office if you'd like to read them. All right, I'll turn it over to Russ at this point.
If you can find the rector's office now. You need a compass now on the campus of St. Martin's. So it's my tradition this year, as it has been for the last decade and a half, to recognize key members of our staff here at St. Martin's. Everybody's an important member of the staff, and a reminder that we have about 210 full and part-time staff members here at St. Martin's. We did not ask all of them to be here, and many of them are working in other places on campus, but I'm going to start by reminding you of the wonderful clergy team you have. I think we have the best clergy team in the United States. It's a pleasure to work with them week after week, year after year, and they have all promised to stay until I retire or die. So, I retire or expire, one of the two. So please hold your applause. No favorite clergy. We're not favoring him, so we're going to hold your applause till we get to the end. Our Vice Rector, Marty Bastian, our Vicar, the Reverend Dr. Chad Martin. Chad did finish his doctorate this year. Don't hold your applause. The Reverend Dr. Suze McBay, Associate for Adult Christian Education and the Riverway. The Reverend Alex Graham, Associate for Children and Family Ministries. The Reverend Lisa Nielsen, Associate for Pastoral Care Women's Ministries. The Reverend Jane Ferguson, Associate for Student and Family Ministries. The Reverend Sharon Cox, Associate for Outreach, Pastoral Care, and Women's Ministries. The newest member of the St. Martin's team, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, the Reverend Wesley Arning, Associate for Young Adults, Small Groups, and the Red Sox. The Reverend John Bentley, Pastoral Associate. The Reverend Nick Dyke, Pastoral Associate. The Reverend Dick Elwood, Pastoral Associate. The Reverend Robert Waring, Pastoral Associate. The Reverend Jill Keyworth, Deacon, Pastoral Care, Mission, and Outreach Ministries. And last but not least, the Reverend Jim Cunningham, our Deacon Emeritus. Now you can applaud. Love these folks and love working with them. It's a real joy to come together. I wish, really, we do so much work, and that's not a complaint. I wish we had more time to play together, but we get around to that as much as we can. So here are some key folk that run different departments here at St. Martin's, and you know their faces, but sometimes you need to be reminded of their hard work. So Sharon Fields, the director, please stand as I call your name. Hold your applause until the end. Sharon Fields, the director of St. Martin's Activity Center. Holly Kite is our lay minister for children's Christian education. She's actually teaching Sunday school, which is a good thing. T.D. Davis, Tyler Davis, middle school minister. He's also teaching confirmation class right now. Sue Davis, director of communications, who was hired to come and do the Star and then had to create a virtual world. So Bruce Smith cannot be here, executive director of finance and facilities. Liz Gallion, who's the executive assistant to the executive director of finance and facilities and executive assistant to vice rector. Where are you, Liz? Are you here? Is she here? She has the longest title. I was just going to say, Justin Jacobson, the director of event management. Bruce Morgan, director for creative ministries. Dennis Davis, supervisor of facilities. Becky Worrell is our CPA and comptroller, and she's not here today. Keep her in your prayers. Her mother died just within the last 10 days. Julio Flores, director and chef of food services, not here, but we're all grateful for Julio, and I'll say a word about that when my report comes along. Joni Huerta is our executive director for human resources, couldn't be here today. Now we're getting to people who are actually here. Kathy Johnson, lay minister for membership ministries. Dr. David Henning, the director of the music and parish organist, and Kevin Reilly, choral director of adult choir, and Wayne Watson, the director of contemporary music, and Tom Lynch, the contemporary worship music leader. Sid Gillette, it says she's not here, but I saw her this morning. Sid, are you here? Sid Gillette is our director of outreach ministries. My great crew that work in the rector's office, they control my day. Laura controls my night. Leslie Huff, my executive assistant to the rector, and sometimes they all get together and gang up on me, I should add. Leslie Huff, my executive assistant. Carol Gallion, administrative associate. Ashley Pratka is our director of development. She had to be out today. Brittany Pena, an analyst at the rector's office. Allie Hippard, administrative assistant at the rector's office. They're all standing in the back, I think, my crowd. Kellen. Danya Lenez, the executive assistant to the vicar, not here, but Barbara Piana, our worship services coordinator. Beth Olenberger, our contemporary worship coordinator. They're here, and I'm going to ask you to give them a round of applause. I don't want you to forget some of those ancillary activities that happen on our campus. Kellen Cray is the head of our school. Kellen, are you here today? Yay, Kellen's here, and Dr. Matt Stanford, and Mr. Don Ballard with the Hope and Healing Center. Couldn't be here, but do a lot of work here. But you'll get the applause for the school, Kellen. Thank you. I want to quickly recognize several of our parish leaders, and of course, you being here, you're all parish leaders. But I particularly want to thank this vestry, and as I say in your parish report here, last year we did not elect vestry. In fact, we asked for the first time, I think, in the history of St. Martin's, we asked for a pause button on elections. So this is the first time in 70 years, 69 and change, that we had a vestry team who just kind of froze in place, and each of them gave an entire whole nother year of service in their roles, and that's really important. So I'm going to recognize them quickly, have them stand. Jim Hibbert, retiring senior warden. Titus Harris, our retiring junior warden. Anya McInnes, the retiring missions chair. Bob Paddock. Culver Stedman was president of senior council. He's not here today. Matt Anderson continues on the vestry. Michelle Bain. Michelle, are you not here? I saw your husband, but so your husband's representing you today. Diane Campbell, Tommy Ford, Whitney Gormley, Casey Hedges, Matt Mogus, Bob Parkey, Gibbs Searles, John Wooldridge are continuing members of the vestry. Associate members, quick reminder, we appoint some folks to represent different groups. So Bill Frazier and Will Williams are the senior council representatives. Therese Moore is our altar guild president. Dana Parkey, ECW president. Joe Lopez, president of Men of St. Martin's. Mike Weber, the usher representative. Sherry Perkins is our ECW president, couldn't be here. Ryan LaRue, who you'll hear more about in just a minute, was usher representative to the vestry from 2018 to 2021. So he just quit. He turned in his resignation, said, I'm done. So please give these folks a big round of applause. Very grateful to their leadership, and it is my tradition to hunt down, now these retiring people get gifts from the rector, but the senior warden and junior warden always get a little special extra. So it takes some time, and I have to kind of do a little work, especially with the senior warden who has not as many interests as some people, but a big interest in Bruce Springsteen. I hope your wife was telling the truth. Sharon, where are you? You were telling the truth, right? Okay, so I have a signed album from Bruce Springsteen in your gift, and that was not easy to get. And also, for you, I understand you're fans of every sports team, and I thought about getting a signed golf ball, but that rubs off pretty easily. So Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa, signed baseballs. This is not in the year that we're not talking about, but every other year. So, and also Max Lucado sent a special gift for the two of you. So thank you to our wardens for the work that they do. The endowment is actually a very important group at St. Martin's. When I came to St. Martin's, the endowment was at about $5 million, and now it's right at about $15 million. A quick reminder to those of you who don't know, the endowment is not used to underwrite the operating fund, any operating ministries here. And really, we don't want to be the kind of parish that has a huge endowment. If you want to go, and I'm sorry this is being recorded because other people will hear this, but if you want to see the curse of big endowments, go to some very large churches, particularly in the Northeast, who have lots of money, but other people have stopped feeling invested in the church because they think you've got a big pile of money in there. Why should I give to the church? So that's not our goal. We use the endowment for two things. One is to help support our outreach ministries to the community, and the other is for capital emergencies. So every now and then we have, so if it's July and the air conditioning goes out, that would be a capital emergency. So we would go to the endowment and ask them to help us out with that. Just so you know, if I have a request of the endowment, I actually have to go and ask, and I've been told no. I've also been told yes, but just so you know, it's a pretty important board here, and Lamar Hall has served as president from 2019 to 2021. Other members on the endowment board, Stefan Van Keppel and Pam Berno are not here. They're retiring trustees. Cynthia Partlow is here, and I'd like them to please stand, and other members of the endowment board who are here to please stand, but we're just recognizing those retiring. Lamar, Pam, Cynthia, Stefan, please stand. So I pause and turn it back over to the senior warden for a moment or two. He's wanting to know where his album is. It's over here. So.
All right, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our vestry nominees and their spouses and ask them to stand and remain standing when their name is called. Please hold your applause until they're all standing. Mrs. Nancy Bynon and her husband, Steve. Mrs. Elizabeth Dukes and her spouse, Dan. Mr. Ryan LaRue and his spouse, Katie. Mr. Dan Meyer and his spouse, Neil. Mr. Roy Nickel and his spouse, Laura. Thank you very much. These are our new vestry nominees. Now, I need the nominees to stand by because we're going to have a vote. Spouses can be seated. I will now read a portion, I'm sorry for this, of the Canon of Texas describing persons eligible to vote, section 9.2. Men and women at least 16 years of age who are enrolled, confirmed, communicants in good standing of the parish are entitled to vote for members of the vestry and upon all questions requiring the action of the congregation. but none shall be admitted to serve as members of the vestry except those who are at least 18 years of age. Our policy, custom, and practice at St. Martin's for the past 60-plus years has been to unanimously elect the 5 persons nominated. So I need a motion to unanimously elect the 5 nominees. Second? All in favor? Thank you very much. Elected. I just wanted to take a brief moment to say a few things about the past couple of years. For the past 2 years, it's been my honor to serve you as senior warden of the vestry, which you know by now. If my timeline is correct, and I think it is, the pandemic arrived in Texas about 2 short months after the last parish meeting, which was not last year, but 2 years ago. Leadership of St. Martin's, both clergy, staff, and parishioners were faced with many decisions to make in a short amount of time. This was not something that could be ignored and have the parish just enjoy business as usual. This was serious, and the possible consequences were troubling. Just think about it. We were in the middle of a $60+ million construction project to expand and enhance our place of worship. At the same time, many were unsure if it was even safe to come and gather on our campus to worship, as we had always done in the past. It's my belief that faith carried us through to where we are today, which I'm sure Russ will tell us more about in detail later. We committed ourselves not only to continue the construction, but to ramp up the pace of construction, taking advantage of what was an otherwise empty campus during that period. At the same time, through live streaming and other technologies, we expanded our ministry to other cities, other states, and even other countries. We're learning to live with COVID cautiously, but with faith. And finally, we culminated this period last year with the Homecoming Week celebration on our campus, safely bringing our parishioners back on campus with a very robust plan for expanded worship, Christian education, mission work, and development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. I know you all wish my report was that short, but it's not going to be. So let's spend a little time talking about life at St. Martin's in the last 2 years. And it's been a challenging 2 years, as you know. It's been a challenging 2 years for you. It's been a challenging 2 years for those of us who are called to serve you in this place. But as we emerge, like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon, I think we're going to see ourselves, through the grace of our Lord, be transformed in ways, and I think we're already seeing that we've never been the kinds of things we've never done before, and kinds of ways that we're reaching out, and we're also seeing a return to life in ways that we've not yet seen in the history of the parish. So just quickly, I typically report under 4 P's: plant, people, program, and my favorite, pledges. So I'll come to that in just a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about plant, our plant. It's been an incredible year. We've come to the end of an extraordinary 2 years of building, and thanks to many members of St. Martin's, we have been able to add 64,554 new square feet to our campus. 58,049 square feet has been renovated. We have 4 new buildings. We have 5 new outdoor meditation and reflection gardens. We have, much to the chagrin of some of the people who are called to take care of our campus, 9 fountains and water features. that are finally just about working as they're supposed to. We have a little bit of work to do on a few of the new ones. Among those new buildings, the new Parish Life Center seats about 650, home to our family life, our family table service, the new Riverway service, Christian life studies, and other activities during the week. Christ Chapel within the kind of the skeleton of the old church, the Children's Life Center, the Pastoral Care Center where your clergy live these days, the new Music Center, new renovated Welcome Center and Gift Shop. If you've not tried out the coffee machine in the new Welcome Center, you must, because you can. It's like going to Burger King where you can choose if you want different flavors in your coffee. This is no adult beverages are offered in the Welcome Center, but it's really a neat, and they're also offering cold brew coffee. All of that right there. Don't let that delay you from coming to church, but you might want to stop in there. The Payne Administration and Outreach Building, many of you may not know that we had intended to renovate the Payne Building, but when we were required to upgrade some things there due to code, that the decision of the building committee was just to kind of tear it all down, pull it all out, and redo it from stem to stern, top to bottom, and it was done. So if you haven't been over there, I encourage you to go spend a moment and just kind of see how downstairs looks the same, upstairs is completely different. And I do want to thank the members of our building committee, master planning committee. I could go on and on because there's so many people who are part of that. But I will say under the leadership of our junior warden and Burr Pieper and Buck Ogilvie, we had an outstanding building committee. Marty Bastian, for the most part, was the clergy representative, and they got a lot of great work done. So if we're on the building committee or the master planning committee, can I have you stand? We'll recognize you and give you thanks for that work. Please stand. Thank you all. No easy task. So a lot going on in the way of plant. All you have to do is walk around and take a look. And if you ever want a tour, the clergy love taking tours. So we're happy to do that. Let me say a little bit about people. A lot of churches, as you know, all you have to do is read the studies, and a lot of churches shrank during the last 2 years. St. Martin's, as St. Martin's typically does, surprised us and surprised your rector. In this year alone, we had 104 baptisms of adults, teens, children, and infants. A quick reminder, the average Episcopal church has got about 160 members. So we almost baptized the whole church. 79 confirmations and adults and teens. 80 baptized members received from other denominations, and 61 members of other Episcopal churches who transferred here. Our total number of baptized members right now is 9,740. The growth chart continues. I want you to mark that down, 9,740. We're close to 10,000. And it will probably happen this year. And when it does, we will have balloons that fall from the top of the church down on the 10,000th member. So really excited about that. I think it's important to say that during COVID, so as Jim just pointed out, we basically closed down in March of 2020. So since that day, we've had 373 members join St. Martin's. So St. Martin's during this long, difficult season has actually grown by almost 400 members. So thanks to you for being friendly and welcoming people here, and we're going to continue to do our best to do that. Our average Sunday in-person attendance was abysmal from January 1 through May 31st, for obvious reasons. The average Sunday attendance was about 399. Our weekly, so we include the Wednesday services and other services, was about 604. That's from January 1st to May 31st. The average virtual attendance, however, was about 960, and that's those tuning in. So you can guesstimate that wasn't just one person per tuning in. In fact, you can quit sending me pictures of your dogs watching St. Martin's. I got one 2 Sundays ago from Larry McAfee, a former senior warden. I know your dogs are the tone of my voice. And somebody sent me one of their grandchild falling asleep as I was preaching. So you don't have to send me that. So the average weekly virtual attendance, 1,024. So that's from January 1st to May 31st. But fortunately, from June 1st to now, to just a few weeks ago, December 31st, that trend began to shift back in the right direction. So the average Sunday attendance jumped up to 901. The average weekly attendance, 1,334. Average Sunday virtual attendance has gone down because people are coming to church, 421. And now, of course, we kind of opened the doors in May, and then we had Omicron come. So things are still a little fluctuating, but just so far this year, so we go back to January 1st to now, our average Sunday attendance has crept back up to 1,338, and weekly attendance, 1,701. So, and we estimate that about 53,000 people worshiped with us live in the last year, and about 35,000 households tuned in to be part of our worship. So a total of almost 89,000 in some way that we touched through our worship. We couldn't do all that worship without lots and lots of volunteers. So just quickly, our 85 parish choir members, our 45 children's choir members, our 7 family table worship team members, our 153 members of the Altar Guild, our 157 ushers, our 67 chalice bearers, our 113 acolytes, 22 members of the St. Lydia's Guild, 30 greeters led by the energetic Kathy Johnson, and a partridge in a pear tree. So if you are one of those volunteers, please stand. Please stand. I'm going to brag a little bit more on our choir, because I do think we have the best choir in the world, and that can be recorded. For those of you Episcopalians tuning in from other churches, for the record, I say that unapologetically. Some of my 3 favorite quotes from the last couple of years. One was George Carey a couple of weeks ago. We had that virtual event with George Carey in which I said, what would you tell St. Martin's to do into the future? And of all the things he started, he said, I love your choir. And that's the way he started. And so I don't know if he was saying, don't fire the choir, or, George, the choir's staying. So that was one of my favorite quotes. When we hosted Gene Ciernan's funeral several years ago, you remember that? And somebody, now I've forgotten his name. Thank you. Who reminded me? Who is that? Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, it's David Hartman, who used to be on Good Morning America. Is that right? Okay. I might turn to you again, Jeff, for later TIA moments that I'm having up here. But David Hartman was at that service and caught me as the service. He says, who was that choir? And I said, well, it's our choir. He said, that's your choir? I said, yes, that's our choir. And he said, you didn't bring them in? I finally said, no, that's our choir. So, and then I have to say this. We were leaving the National Cathedral on Air Force One, and we were flying back to home, thank God, for the service for President Bush as we got back here. And 43 was kind of pacing throughout the plane that he formerly owned, and somebody was commenting on the choir at National Cathedral, and he goes, oh, but have you heard St. Martin's choir? And they went, no. He goes, oh, well, you're in for a real treat. This is after we've left the national church, So just saying, love the choir. So thank you, choir, all sitting around in white. We couldn't do what we do without you. All right, I want to say, I want to remind you that a lot of churches also felt it necessary to pull back. I think I'm moving away. No, I'm still with people, but pull back on their outreach to the community. And that's not something we did. We did a lot of outreach during the last year. In fact, in 2021, $3.38 million of our budget, about 23% of our annual budget, went outside the doors of our church in some way or some fashion. We kept tabs of the total number of outreach opportunities, and it came to 195 outreach opportunities. And we recruited, thanks to you, about 2,000 of you participated in outreach in the last year, and we counted heads. So if we did Church in the Field, or if we were at Yellowstone Academy, or if we were offering outreach at the Beacon, we counted the number of people we feel like were touched by our outreach services, and what we were able to count was 38,837 people. That's a lot of outreach to this community, and it's crucial that we continue to give of ourselves outside the doors. We've never shrunk outreach at St. Martin's, even during the lean years. In fact, the year we gave the most to outreach was the year Hurricane Harvey hit our city, and we were able to give $4 million outside of the church. So that will continue. Of course, the great work of the Hope and Healing Center, now hosting roughly a little bit less than 40 support and recovery groups every week. Lots of people coming into the Hope and Healing Center for those support and recovery groups, for the kind of services that we offer there. There's a write-up in your bulletin so you can read more about that. But pre-COVID, we were hitting about 800 people a week in some fashion. That's a lot, from more than 200 different zip codes. So it's not just the Houston area, and that has really been a good blessing to this campus and to the people of Houston. And of course, we don't charge anything for the services that we offer over there through the Hope and Healing Center, which is it's a separate 501c3, and that's helped them with some fundraising, obviously, and some operational issues. It helped, but the majority of the board are members of St. Martin's. And also, I want to tell you that St. Martin's, under Matt's leadership, started something called the Gateway to Hope. There's a word about that in your bulletin, but it trains clergy and lay leaders in parishes to recognize and be able to offer aid and care and proper treatment to those suffering from mental illness. And that program has now trained, so it goes into different faith communities. It's trained people in 300 different worshiping communities, and about 3,500 people have gone through that program around the nation, offered at the Hope and Healing Center. So thanks to Matt for what he does there. Now, you can't talk about St. Martin's without mentioning the cafe, which has reopened and now open on Thursdays, for those of you who did not know. And this is just a fun fact, because I like to keep tabs on how many people we serve in the cafe. So since it's reopened, our chef, Julio Flores, and his sous chef, Chrissy Canna, we've served more than 8,600 meals in 2021. And that's been a great blessing to those who come on the campus. Open on Thursdays now. Quick reminder. Now, a few things about online offerings in the way of education. January to August, we were still limiting in-person events, so we had more than 800 online offerings, including worship services, Bible studies, classes. We also were able to hold, during that time, 2,846 events, now from August to December, this kind of magic period when we were opening up again, 4,173 events on campus. And we continued hosting a lot of our online opportunities of worship, Bible study, etc. classes, totaling more than 200 events. And we do all that with a great communications team here. I will tell you, they had our entire communication with you had to shift, obviously, in the last 2 years. And Sue, where are you, Sue? Are you here? There's Sue Davis and her team, who were brought here to do one thing, and then suddenly we were thrust into the virtual world. And there have been hiccups along the way, in large part because we just didn't do this kind of work for so many years. But now we're doing it. It's a crucial part of what we're doing. But I have to tell you, like all of you who are in the working world right now, you know we've had some hiccups here because of staffing issues. If somebody is exposed to COVID or gets the bug, we do send them off campus for a while, and that's happened in almost every department here at St. Martin's, including Sue's department. So we kind of be humming along, and then we lose a crucial person of that in that mix. But we're doing the best we can. Some things to come: a renovation of our web page, complete renovation. I think I'm safe to say that. I'm not going to give you a date yet because it's working. We're talking about a St. Martin's app right now that you could have on your phone where I could get in touch with you any hour of the day. But you couldn't get in touch with me. It doesn't work that way. A couple of other highlights of what things we started. We launched the Riverway service. It's a completely different kind of service. If you've wandered into that service and you went, where am I? You're in the Riverway. You got swept up into the river. And if you go over there and you don't like it, don't complain. Just come back over here. I actually had one of our members during COVID, because for a while we were streaming the family table service, and they called me at home and they said, I went to something today on our website and we were hacked. And I said, what? He said, no, we were hacked because there was some service, it wasn't us. And the more he talked, I went, oh, that was the family table service. He said, we're doing that at St. Martin's? So I said, yes, and you don't have to go, but there are a lot of people go. If you go to the family table, it's packed with children and life and activity. The Riverway had its highest attendance since it began last Sunday, and so we're grateful for Susan's leadership there and the team over there that are putting that service together, and it continues to grow and bring people in. So real excited about that experience, and I encourage you to really try it out. And you can come in blue jeans, and you can come in a T-shirt over there. So you can come over here too, but you'll feel more comfortable over there. We opened St. Martin's Cooking School, and I don't know how many of you have been to the cooking school? Just raise your hand. Anybody? I've been, and it's really a neat event. So we bring in chefs from the city, and we got another one coming up, I think, in April, and it's a great event for friends and date night. And then we have opened Sterling's Market, and I'm thrilled that has really been a tremendous success. About 40 vendors that come here Saturday from 9 to noon. They're staying a little bit later now, and because of that, we are having an event this Wednesday night. I announced it in church, but let me re-announce it because I need to add something to it. 5:30 p.m. after the healing service. We're not interrupting the healing service, but 5:30 p.m. we're going to have a pop-up. Actually, 30 of our vendors are coming to Bagby Parish Hall. And we'll give you a free meal, and we're going to talk about the need for volunteers. We need to get a Sterling's crew together. It has become so successful that we really do need a lot of help. And as I said in church, if you sign up to help, that doesn't mean you're signing up to help every week, though some people will do that, and some people have been doing that. But you have an opportunity to learn more about what we're doing and how you can help us grow that. So I encourage you to do that as well. Two things I think were important moments in the life of our church. As lots of churches were exploring how are we going to have a discussion or involve ourselves in ministry around the racial tensions that we've all lived through in the last couple of years, I reached out to my friend Victor Thomas, who's the rector of St. James here in Houston, the largest African-American church Episcopal church in Houston, and we just began a conversation. And it lasted for hours, and one of the things that he said to me, because I talked about programs, I'm a program guy, so I started saying, what kind of program? He said, let's not do a program. And he said, that's happened a lot. We've had a lot of churches who come talk to us about doing programming together, in part out of guilt, or in part out of the feeling that they need to do something like that. Why don't we just do ministry together? And so we did. We shared in a health fair. They've been participating in Church of the Field. We invited Victor to participate in our Veterans Day service. And then when Presiding Bishop Michael Curry, our presiding bishop, came to preach for us, that's the first time, obviously, we've had an African-American bishop in our pulpit. And that won't be the last time that we have people of color visiting us and growing that community here at St. Martin's. One of the things that Barbara Bush used to always be on me about, the late Barbara Bush, was I'm just quoting the former First Lady, we need some color here at St. Martin's. And as that changed, and she didn't mean people getting tan. She meant you're getting nervous that I'm even talking about this, I can tell you. But I want to see us reach out to people in this community and make them feel welcome. Dr. Blocker, who was here with us last week, who's African-American and heads up the College of Biblical Studies, gave us some excellent teaching last Sunday, and it won't be the last time we have him back. So I'm really, that's the way that St. Martin's is approaching that, by entering into ministry with St. James as a partner, and they see us as a partner, and it won't be the last time, and we'll continue to do that work here at St. Martin's. So delighted to say that. Let's see if I have anything else to say. That covers plant, people, program. What have I left out? Pledges. Let's talk about that for just a moment. Some of you will remember that, as Jim said a moment ago, at that last together parish meeting we had all together here in this place. For those of you worried about the next service, it doesn't start till 11:30. So, and I'm not preaching, so you're in good shape. I do want to say that you'll remember a few years ago, because of several different reasons I won't go into, I had to stand before you and say that we had a $1 million deficit. How many of you remember that? I remember that. And that was the first time that had happened in my tenure here. And I stood before you and said, that will be the last time that it happens. And on that day, some of you will remember, I said, I don't know how we're going to close this gap. I'm leaving that up to the Lord and to you. And I spoke to you openly about that situation. It wasn't mismanagement. It was a lot of surprises popped up on our budget that year that we just did not expect. So later that day, I got a call from two of our very faithful longtime members, and they said they needed to see me before the end of the day. I thought it was a pastoral issue, and I was doing the evening service, so I said, well, I'll meet you at the church. And I said, let's go up. I'll meet you in the chapel. We're going to pray up right in front of St. Martin's, because I was sure this was a pastoral issue. And we got up front, and the husband and wife said to me, we went home, we heard what you said, and we were at different ends of the house, and we both walked to the middle of the house, and they said, this is our church, and we need to take care of that for our church, and we're going to give you $1 million. And I think I started to cry. And then I went and got the senior warden, who was in the narthex, and I said, he was serving as an usher. I said, come here. I'll bring you up to the chapel. I'm going to let them tell you. And then he started to cry. And we were all kind of weepy because it said a lot about the kind of people we have here at St. Martin's. And then in addition to that, many of you stepped forward, and by the end of about 2 weeks, we had $1.4 million. So thank you. So I'm standing before you today to say we finished the year and we have a surplus of, wait, don't get too excited, $21,000. But it's a surplus. We're not going to go crazy. It's just a surplus of $21,000. But we have one. And we managed the budget very carefully this year. I thank the staff for that. Bruce Smith, Becky Werla, finance team, our treasurer, just did an incredible job. So I do want to talk to you about pledges, because coming out of this, you think, well, what's the health? It is a measure of the health of the church if people feel invested in their church. So if you're sitting there as a member of this church and you don't pledge, I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. And I mean that seriously, because this year, coming off of a capital campaign, stepping into a new year, finishing up 2 years of closure, as we look to this year ahead, the Vestry has passed a faith budget. That means, and I always remind the Vestry, because we have some finance people on the Vestry who kind of treat it like we're a power company and we just send you a bill and it'll get paid. And you all know it doesn't work that way. So anytime, even though you've got your budget in your parish, in your little booklets there, your parish report, but it is a faith statement, because all of you may not pay your pledge. But I was real curious to see how things would look this year. We hired a development director this year. Bob Heston stepped onto the Vestry after serving the Vestry for many years, and became a stewardship chair of a new committee on the Vestry. And we've kind of been redoing stewardship. And part of that is being transparent with you about our need. Part of that is beginning to meet with particularly younger leaders in the church, and some of you are sitting in here, and we're talking to you about the need for you to step up the way your forebears did 70 years ago. And we've had 3 of those meetings so far, groups of 20. We've got 4 scheduled for the spring. And the fruit of that labor is that we've never, ever been as far along as we are today in the stewardship of St. Martin's. So the pledges for this year, and I'm sharing this with you because you're invested members, and pledges for the year so far are $12,522,000. You won't see this in your paperwork. This is my secret, double secret probation piece of paper because it changes by the hour. $12,527,774. We have 90 people, first-time pledges, totaling $350,000. 106 of you pledged, and then you decreased your pledge, and that happens for all kinds of reasons. So if you gave $10,000 last year, you're giving $5,000 this year. That doesn't mean you're not giving. It just means you've decreased. But that decrease is 257. That's the lowest it's ever been year to year. Oh, I should mention the amount of new pledges, highest it's ever been. And then the increases. Those of you who are members of St. Martin's and you were giving $5,000, now you're giving $10,000. You've stepped it up. That amount is $1,337,000, highest amount in the history of St. Martin's. So the net increase right now is $1,400,000. That's the most it's ever been in the history of St. Martin's at this time. So I'm going to say to you, thank you. 42% of you who pledged last year increased your pledge. And that says a lot about our theology of stewardship and our theology of giving. So thank you. Now, if you are sitting there and you haven't pledged, we passed the faith budget, and I think the pledge amount is, I'm looking at the treasurer, $14 million, right? So we're pretty confident that we'll get there, even though we're at 12.5 now, so we've got a little bit more to go. But that means we're going to continue to reach out to those of you who have not pledged. So if you haven't, realize there are a lot of people here sacrificing so that we can do what we do every day here and every Sunday. And I'll tell you, especially, let me pick on those of you who are, Ian Markham, where are you? Dean Markham shared the good news yesterday that I'm not a senior citizen. The demographic studies I thought started at 60, but they've changed it, Dean Markham says, to 65. Yes, so I'm still middle-aged. But let's go for those of you under 50, right? In one of those small groups we had, and Marty and I have been hosting those, and Ashley comes along, and sometimes some of the members of Vestry come along. One of the members, young man, said, so tell me, what we're sitting here talking about stewardship, and explain to us what you think is different between now and 70 years ago when St. Martin started. Well, not too long ago when I was cleaning out things and moving them from one area of the campus to my office, I came across some old photo albums. And this is not to pick on some of the members who are sitting here, but some of you are sitting here. And I saw young versions of some of our key leaders like John Barno and Charles Kraft. Where are you, Charles? I saw you in a minute ago. Charles, you were in there. I saw you didn't have gray hair at one time. And Lauren Bain. And I said, I think there was a time when those leaders, for them, this was the center of their life. This took priority over everything else. And so when there was a parish supper, they were there. When there was an opportunity to come together for worship, they were there. When there was a new program started, they were there. When there was an opportunity to reach out to the community, they were there. And I said, honestly, I know there's a lot of things competing for your time. Those of you under the age of 50 have school and activities. Now we're kind of battling the challenge of academic institutions scheduling things during church on Sunday, which is extraordinarily frustrating to me, and it should be to you. I'm happy to talk to any principal or headmaster you want me to call. But we need it to be the center of your life too. And that's not just with your showing up, and that's not even with your time. We also have to have that decision to invest in this place the same way those forebears did. And I will tell you what I told these young people. If you don't give your life to this church in the way that they did, you will not have the church you have now 10 years from now. So that's why we're meeting with young people and having this ongoing conversation. I am extraordinarily grateful for those of you who give. But if you're sitting there and you don't give and you don't pledge, you need to do that if you're a member of this church. That's an expectation. That's what it means to be a member in good standing. Member in good standing is baptized, confirmed, known to the rector, which means I know where you sit And I do know where lots of you sit. And known to the treasurer. And that is the definition of a member in good standing. And I want you all to be members in good standing. And I want you all to be working toward the biblical goal of tithing, which is giving about 10% of what the Lord gives back to you. Aren't you glad the Lord didn't say it was 50%? It's 10%, $10. You give God one of those 10. I suspect most of us probably spend about as much on coffee at Starbucks than a lot of people in this world spend in their faith communities. I'm not talking about St. Martin's, but if you go to Starbucks 3 or 4 times a week, you've bucked up already $25, $30. If everybody just did that, if every member of St. Martin's did that, we'd be in great shape. About 60% of our members don't pledge right now. About 40% do, and we're working on the 60%. If you're in that 60%, please pray about it. Please jump on board. We've passed the faith budget. We're in the best shape we've been in the history of the parish, but we need to close the deal, so to speak. Okay? Can I invite you to say an amen to that?